Okay, let's take a closer look at the state of global inflation with Edward Tse. He is the founder and CEO of Gaofeng Company. He joins us now from Hong Kong. Thanks very much, Edward, for taking some time to chat with us. I hope you enjoyed that last story. It gave you an idea of what life is like on the mainland right now. But it seems as though inflation has been out on the periphery globally for some time. But as we recap all those global numbers, it seems it's coming home to roost. Let's talk about the PMI numbers from the Caixin report and factory orders first.
Right, yeah. Do you want me to comment on that?
Yes, please. I'd like you to provide some insight, what your take is on that. How is it affecting, and looking forward, how do you think it's going to affect global markets?
Right. The January number for the Caixin PMI number just came out, right? Then there are a couple of numbers, actually. There's a number with respect to service PMI. I believe that has dropped something like 1.6% or so. And there's also a number that's related to production or manufacturing PMI that also dropped roughly around 1.7% or so, roughly in the same order as the service PMI. And I believe there's also a composite PMI number, and I think that dropped over 2%. So I think if you look at it from a number standpoint, things are softening a little bit, not dramatically, but certainly have softened a little bit compared to the month before.
And we talked about the inflation in Europe and in the United States. What about Asia? How is it doing?
Asia, in general, inflation is not as bad as that in the U.S. or North America or in Europe. We talk about China. China's inflation was roughly around 1.6% or so. Hong Kong around 2%. Japan close to 0%. I think the highest is India, around 5%, but on the average, Asia's number is quite a bit below that in the US or Europe.
And when we talk about anything to do with the economy, we really have to talk about supply chain disruptions as well as COVID. How is that playing into this equation?
Big deal, of course. We've been hit by the pandemic for over 2 years now, as you know, and supply chain, China being a major hub of manufacturing and the source of supply chain for many other countries in the world. And because of the pandemic, it really have disrupted the global supply chain a whole lot. So it really affects the supply of goods to destination countries like the US and to some extent Europe as well. And so, also, there's a lot of effort that various governments need to put into in fighting the pandemic. In particular, China, as you know, has been very proactive in trying to contain the pandemic. So a lot of money also have gone into that.
Yeah, and just a few weeks back, Chinese President Xi Jinping cautioned the United States about pumping its brakes too soon to dramatically have an effect on inflation, warning that rising interest rates too fast, too soon could lead to a slowdown with the overall global economy. What has China done to keep its inflation at about 1.6%?
Yeah, China, as you know, China has started, or not started, but they made the dual circulation policy as a imperative for the economic policy since over a year or so ago. And while the global trade flows have been affected a lot by the supply chain issue that we talk about, China has been putting a lot of effort in ensuring that the economic growth and the stability can be ensured to a large extent by the domestic circulation or the so-called internal circulation. So China has been applying the right kind of monetary policy as well as fiscal policy domestically to try to sort of make sure that the situation is quite stable. The trade going on with China has always been in focus with U.S. lawmakers. Right now, the so-called China competition bill just passed the U.S. House of Representatives. They hope it will ease inflation. Will U.S. citizens see any effects on this anytime soon if it is approved? And what are your thoughts on that measure? It's understandable why the U.S. government will want to do that because they need to really provide investments into the U.S. economy so that you can pump up employment and generate demand and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I think through the last couple of years, in particular with respect to how various countries has been fighting against the pandemic, we're beginning to see a divergence in the effectiveness of the governance model or the management model across different countries. I would say that in the U.S., given the current system and how they execute things. You know, a lot of this original design purpose of the act may not really be able to come about in a very quick way, and it may not be fast enough to really address the inflation issues that is quite serious currently in the U.S.
Okay. Edward Tse, thanks so much for taking time to chat with us, the founder and CEO of Gaofeng Company, joining us from Hong Kong.